No sign of this sugar bone. What's up, guys? I thought I'd talk today about something that happened to me. I find it really funny. A lot of you guys know that I'm into cars, that I build cars, that I'm I do a lot of stuff. Obviously, if you've seen the video that I made about the 79 VW bus that I did, that Westphalia. I'm very skilled when it comes to working on cars, and I never really realized when I was a kid till I came to Japan what I was training for, really. My whole life, my favorite thing was walking through junkyards, and I love to look at old classic cars. I find them very aesthetically pleasing. I like the old car shapes. I love just seeing old cars, fantasizing about building them. It's almost sexual for me. I love to walk through a junkyard and just see an old car and think about what I could do to that car, how I could build that car, and how cool it would be, and what motor I'd want to put in it, and what chassis I'd want to do to it, and what colors it would be, and things like that. And I was doing that my whole life since I was just a kid. I built my first car when I was 10 years old. I bought my first car. I was into karts when I was 8 years old. I started Indy kart racing when I was 8. And at the time, we used to do it in parking lots in Denver, and it was a little bit dangerous. It was basically glorified home-built go-karts. More or less. And I started building them and selling them, and I started putting things like disc brakes on them, and fabricating them to basically kind of the carts that we have now. And in doing that, I made pretty damn good money, even at my age. And by the age of 10, my father allowed me to buy a 1959 Ford Fairlane 500. It was a piece of shit, and I paid like $250 for it, I think it was. You know, this was in like 1981, 82 year, something like that. I think it was 1981. And I learned everything on that car. I learned from classic guys. You know, I was trained by old guys from the 50s, and I was a hot rodder. I liked hot rods, classic cars, stuff like that. So I learned how to chop and channel and section and all that stuff, and lead fill, and you know, that car was entirely lead filled. I fabricated all the parts and all that stuff, and by the time I was 13, I had restored that car and painted that car, and did the interior, did all the interior work myself, built the whole car up, and that car is basically what got me to where I am now. And I came to Japan, and after teaching English, and if you guys have seen some of my old stories, you see that I hated that. I didn't like teaching English. It was awful because I had to have so many jobs, and I fell asleep on the train and actually fell down into somebody behind me, and that was the last time I taught in Japan, in that kind of capacity anyways, of like just being a teacher. And I found an Australian guy after that, and started working for him, and I worked for him about 8 months. And I learned very quickly that all he wanted to do was, he was very good at numbers. He knew chassis numbers, but he didn't know anything about cars. And he found out very quickly that I picked up on all of the chassis number stuff very quickly, but I knew a lot about fucking cars. And I used the knowledge that I had from doing the junkyards, and I could I'd walk with this guy, and he was showing me the ropes, and I just noticed that like he'd work like 3 rows this way and 3 rows that way, trying to find cars, and he just didn't have good eyes. You know, he couldn't see very far. I seen, you know, and when I walked through the yard, I would do like 15 sections that way, 15 sections this way, and I could get through all 10,000 cars in like 2 hours, and I could find all the cars that I wanted, all the cars that my clients were looking for, and I could find them very quickly. I could find the prices, and I could get on the phone and find out what the customers wanted to pay for them. So I worked the lot very quickly, and he started calling and you know, asking me. I'd be already talking to my clients sitting in the auction house, and he'd still be out there looking at cars for another 3.5 hours after I was done, and he'd ask me to find a car for him. And he said he looked in the auction book, and he found that there was like a red Skyline, you know, 32 Skyline GTR or something, and it was supposed to be around where he was at. And I'd come out the door, and I'd be on the 4th floor of the auction house, and I could come out, and I'd ask him, "Where are you at?" And he'd tell me, and I'd look and see him, and then I'd say, "The car you're looking for is 6 rows over and 4 rows back," you know, and I could just point out the car. I'm very good at that. I have very quick eyes when it comes to stuff like that. And flash forward to today, with my experience of being a master fabricator, certified welder, ICAR certified for auto body, twice ASC certified mechanic. I applied for a job on a website called gaijinpot.com. It's a Japanese website for finding work here in Japan, and they have more than just English teaching. They have IT jobs, everything like that. It's a very good site. I applied for this military auto job where they sell new cars to military staff. It's been around since 1937, and as a psychologist, I understand a lot of what's going on, and I can see through a lot of the bullshit. And what happened was, I applied for the job, sent them my resume. They wrote back a message and wanted me to do a test, like a psychological test, to see if you were psychologically able to do the job they say, you know. And I got on the test, and I realized very quickly, it said pick from 4 things. Pick which one is most likely and least like you. Most like you and least like you. And when I looked through the test, I noticed that a lot of the stuff you really couldn't say is not really like you. And a lot of the stuff that they said is most like you really wasn't most like you at all either. So it's kind of like ambiguous either way. And I did the test, and then right away they wrote me back within like 10 minutes and said that did I take the test, and I said yes, and they said they didn't receive it. Now this is a common thing that goes on with jobs nowadays with our new wonderful PC culture. Feminism has got a hold of these companies, and this is an obligatory shit test, basically. This is what it is. If you're willing to go through all the bullshit that all the walls they've put up, then they think when you get into their job, you're gonna put up with all their bullshit and all the fucking shit they throw at you, and you will actually stick it out, and you'll put up with it. And when they tell you to do something, you'll just do it because you're just a serf. And that's what this is. That's what this was. I went and took the test again today, or yesterday I should say, and because I wrote them back, and I was like, you know, I kind of knew what was going on. I have a master's in psychology. I knew what the fuck was going on. So I realized that the test actually means nothing. But they wrote me back and told me that the test came up that I wouldn't be a good fit for the company because it showed that I wouldn't be successful in their company. Now, saying that, I put myself through college with a body shop that I worked at and owned. I had that shop for 2 years. I paid for my education. I paid close to $200,000, a little over $200,000. I have when I came here and decided to come here in December 5th, I had about $56,000 saved on top of paying for my education and my rent and food and everything else I had, all my music equipment that I have here and stuff. So I was highly driven. And when it comes to cars, I think after what I've told you, you guys understand that I'm very well skilled and versed in automotive, the automotive industry. I've raced, I've built race cars. I know how to fabricate carbon fiber, fiberglass, aluminum, steel, whatever. You tell me what car you want me to build and how much money you're going to give me to do it, and I'll build you any fucking car you want. So they came up with the idea that I wouldn't be successful in this company, and I wrote them back that I kind of knew it was a shit test, and basically what they're trying to see is if you're going to take the test, and if you do take the test, and then they tell you they didn't receive it, and then you take it again, then you're willing to jump through hoops and do what you're told. It has nothing to do with that. And because I questioned this is a military company, obviously. They want you to have an American visa, and they want you to sell cars, and they want you to sell them to American citizens that are in Japan working in the military. So they expect you to have a military mindset where you do as you're told, and you don't question that. And by them, even though I'm not a military person, I would never want to be a military person. The thing that they did was having you do these shit tests will allow them to see if you're going to have the military mindset enough for them to control you and to instruct you on what they think they want you to do. If they tell you to do something, then you better damn well fucking do it. And if they show you some paperwork and they say this is how we want this done, they want you to understand that that's how they want it done. And they don't want you to falter from that. They want you to do it exactly the way they said, just like you would do in the military. You don't question your orders, you just follow them. So this is what I came up with, and that's why I'm just doing this video to let you guys know if you guys come up with this. If you guys are applying for jobs and you come across these shit tests, these psychological shit tests, that as a psychologist myself, these tests mean nothing. They really, all they are is to try to find out if you'll do the shit test. That's really all it's about. Are you going to do it? Are you stupid enough to do the test, and are you stupid enough to think that the test means something? Because that's the biggest thing. The test means whatever you think it means. So when you read these questions, just like I've talked about before, everybody that reads the question will think something else. So the fact is, depending on the person, the test isn't the same for everyone. So if you take one of these psychological tests and then they try to say that these answers that this person gave means this, it doesn't, because everybody's different. So the fact that you can say that this psychological test that these people took means this, it's bullshit. It's not the case. And the fact is most of the time they're just trying to see if you will do what you're told and not ask questions. And my problem was I asked questions, and I told them that they were kind of dumb for doing this. I said, I've worked at a college level. I've taught at a college level and been a professor. And I've never had to go through this much bullshit to teach at a professional level. So why am I going through this much trouble to sell vehicles, to sell cars, you know? And I've talked about this before, where there's these men who believe, especially in the military, who believe that they are so well skilled and so well versed in their craft that nobody else can do it. I'm so fucking self-important that I'm just fucking awesome and nobody can do anything like me. I'm just awesome. And this is that mindset that they get into, where they actually think that they have some skill that is so amazing, so awesome, that they could, nobody else could do it, you know. And the fact is, everybody can. Anybody can do what you've done, you know. You've done nothing that nobody else could do if they have the skill, and if they have the talent, and if they have the drive, you know. And for someone to tell you that because you took some shit test that you don't have those skills, it's fucking stupid. And just like I've said before, don't believe the negative fucking people. Don't believe anything those negative fuck faces tell you, because it's not true. Just because they say you can't do something, you aren't able to do something, you're too old, you're too young, you're too small, you're too big, you know, don't believe them. You know, like I said before, I'm still here. I have a visa until April. If I can get a job teaching professionally here in Japan, which I've already found a place today. But if I get a job that will sponsor a visa, I'll be here for good, you know, because after about 2 or 3 years, I can apply for a citizenship and I'm here for good. So that's what I'm working on, and that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep doing it until I get it. So. But I've had several people since I've been here try to shit on my parade and try to say, like, you're never going to be able to stay, it's not going to work, blah, blah, blah. And I don't listen to any of it because it's all bullshit. It means nothing. You know, just because somebody thinks they know what they're talking about, I don't give a fuck. You know, it doesn't have anything to do with me. You know, what's gone on in my life and what's going to go on in my life has nothing to do with you. You know. So if you think you know what's going to go on in my life because of what you think, I don't give a fuck, you know. I'll find out when I find out. So I just thought I'd come on and talk to you guys about that today. Talk to you a little bit about shit tests, psychological shit tests for work. All they are is a feminist ploy. They've got their PC hooks into you. You know, where you have to have this psychological test to see if you can fit into their job. And like I say, depending on the person and the day, you know, a lot of these psychological tests, if you give somebody these tests in 5 days, all 5 days, it'll give you a different result. So it means nothing. It's a day-to-day thing. It doesn't mean anything. So it's stupid. So if you come up to these tests, don't even fucking give them. I wouldn't even apply for the job, to tell you the truth. But because basically it would be like applying for being some girl's boyfriend and having to go through a bunch of shit tests to prove that you're good enough to be her boyfriend. You know, same thing. So yeah, thought I'd talk about that today. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys liked it. Got any comments, leave them in the section below. Share, like, and subscribe. Have a nice night.